1, 0,
That's our
and liftoff.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Twiggler channel. Today we're going to be talking about basic carving knife safety and technique. But I think before we do that, we should get a fire going. You can hear a chainsaw off in the background. We're not going to use a chainsaw. Alright, now that my back is warm, we can get started with the video. The carving knife that we're going to be talking about today is a Mora 120. And this is the carving knife that I recommend for all of my students to use, whether they're kids or adults. It's a great little carving knife, it's inexpensive, and it's very well made. Let's talk about a couple of features of the Mora 120 that make it such a good carving knife for green woodworking. First is in the design of the handle itself. You can see that it's a large, ovalized, and symmetrically shaped handle. And it gives a really good grip for big hands and small hands, which makes this knife a great starter knife for kids. The next is that this knife has what's called a Scandinavian grind. And for green woodworking, it's really hard to beat a Scandinavian grind. All that means is that this knife has two long bevels that meet to form the cutting edge. The bevel actually starts right here underneath my finger. And that makes it easy to sharpen the knife because when you set it on the stone to sharpen it, you can feel that bevel because it's so wide. The second thing about a Scandinavian grind that makes it so good for green woodworking is that because the grind is so narrow, it requires less force to push through a cut, and it bites into the wood very predictably. That makes the knife safer to use just because you're using less force to make a cut. That also makes it less fatiguing to use, so you can carve for a little bit longer than you might be able to with a knife that has a secondary bevel. And finally, this knife comes with a sheath. Although it comes with a fairly cheap plastic one, the sheath does its job of keeping the knife in the sheath and the blade protected. Fire collapse. Let's go fix it. Okay, I think we'll do a video in the future about making your own leather sheath for this knife, but the plastic sheath does a fine job of holding the knife and keeps the blade covered when it's in the sheath. The design of the sheath has changed somewhat over the years. This is the old design. The new one is black and a little bit longer to fit two different sizes of this knife, and I find that it doesn't hold the knife in as well. If you pick it up upside down, this knife shouldn't fall out. But on the new ones, it tends to fall out more easily unless you make sure when you put it away, you give it a little tap on the back, and then it stays in pretty well. If you have trouble getting the knife out of the sheath, just give it a wiggle back and forth like that, and it'll come free. One rule that applies to every sharp edge cutting tool that we carry is that the tool stays in the sheath until right before you're ready to make a cut. So once you're actually ready to work with the tool can come out of the sheath, and then when you're done with your work, the tool goes right back into its sheath. That keeps the knife exposed for as little time as possible, and it also makes it more likely that you're not going to lose your sheath. You definitely don't want to be up and walking around with this knife out. You should always be seated or standing in a stationary position while you're carving. In this video, we're going to show you a few different postures that you can use to carve safely, and a few that you should definitely avoid. So instead of you staring at me this entire time, I think we'll get my son Oliver to demonstrate how to use this tool safely. Let's go find him. Okay, Oliver's here with us now. He's going to show us 3 basic techniques that you can use when you're using your carving knife, and also good posture while you're using it. The first posture that he's going to show you is elbows on knees. And the reason that we use that posture is that while it seems very comfortable to carve with your legs open like this, it's actually very dangerous because you have 2 big arteries running down the insides of your legs, and any cut to the inside of your leg is a very serious matter. So we never want to carve in a manner that makes it possible to get a cut on the inside of your legs. One of the first ones we use is elbows on knees. So let's see elbows on knees. Once you have your elbows on your knees, your knife is out in front of your body and you can safely make push cuts. Once your elbows start digging into your knees for a long time, it can get fairly uncomfortable. So the other posture that you can use is off to the side. And that looks something like this. So he'll hold his workpiece in his off hand, and his other hand, his carving hand, will be off to the side of his body. You can use those 2 postures interchangeably. Once you get tired of one, you can switch back to the other one. Now that we've talked about 2 different ways that you can sit while carving, let's talk about some basic grips that you'll use. The first one is the one that you'll use most often, and that is called the forehand grip. And it looks basically like you've wrapped your hand around the handle in a fist. Your thumb is actually tucked underneath. You want to make sure when you're using the basic forehand grip that your hand is centered on the handle. You don't want it too far away from this shiny little band called the ferrule, because that gives the knife too much opportunity to actually bend your wrist. You want to be a little bit closer to the ferrule, if anything, but basically centered on the handle. Basic forehand grip is great for something called a push cut. So Oliver is going to just take the corner of this piece of wood off using the push cut and elbows on knees technique. Now, the push cut lets you take off very big shavings. He's taking off pretty thick shavings right now that the cat is playing with. But you can also take off really light shavings with the forehand grip. It gives you a good amount of control, but it also puts the knife out in front of your body. Most of the time that's good, but if there are other people around, it can actually be a little bit dangerous to have your knife being pushed out in front of your body. If people are walking in front of you, they could potentially get poked. So one way to get around that is using the off to the side posture. Using this posture, you can see that the knife is still out in front of his body, but there's a little trick that we can use to keep the knife closer to us, just in case there are other people around. That is to pretend like there's a little bit of glue on the thumb of your knife hand and glue it to the side of your leg. So let's show them that. Now this is called a pull cut. And when we do this, we're actually leaving the knife in a stationary position up against our leg and pulling the wood through the cut. This keeps the knife close to our body, so we're not pushing it out in front of us anymore. And in this way, we can make sure that the people around us are safe. The next grip we're going to show you is called the fulcrum grip. In this grip, you're actually going to use the thumb of the hand that's holding the workpiece as a fulcrum or pivot point that you're going to allow your knife to rotate around. The first version of this that Oliver is going to show you is called a scissor cut, because when you do it at full speed, it looks a bit like a pair of scissors. You can see now that Oliver has his thumb on the back of the ferrule, and he's rotating the knife around his thumb. He's not using his thumb to push. He's just pivoting the knife around the tip of his thumb. You can see why this is called the scissor cut, because when he's cutting at full speed, it looks a bit like a pair of scissors. It's important to remember not to put your thumb on the back of the blade. There's 2 reasons for that. One, the back of the blade is very narrow and it will actually start to make your thumb really sore. The second reason to not put your thumb on the back of the blade is that it is very likely, because the handle is symmetrical, that one day you will take the knife out of the sheath and the edge will actually be facing towards you. And if you're used to putting your thumb on the back of the blade, you can see what's going to happen. So try not to get used to putting your thumb on the back of the blade. This next cut is a variation on the fulcrum cut, and we call this one the twist cut or scoop cut. In this cut, you can see that Oliver still is using the forehand grip, but now with his thumb on the back of the ferrule, he's actually twisting the handle, almost like you're revving up a motorcycle. And that twisting action gives you a bit of a scoop or a concave cut. Now turn the piece around and you can remove that material and show everybody what kind of a cut that makes. As you can see, the cut that this scoop cut makes is hollowed out. And this is great if you're making something that has an inside curve or concave curve. Now both of the last two cuts are really good for making precise and smooth cuts. They're not great for removing a lot of material at a time. After a while, you may get tired of elbows on knees and off to the side and that same push cut. So here's a third position you can put your body in that is very useful for taking off a lot of material or for delicate cuts, but it's really good for taking off a lot of material. This position is called the chicken wing or chest lever grip. So now you can see that Oliver has the workpiece up around his chest. He's sitting straight up, and now he's turned the knife in his hand like this. So he had it in his hand with the basic forehand grip, and now he's turned his hand forward and put his thumb on top. Then when you bring the knife to your chest, the edge is still away from you, but you've got your thumb on top of the handle. You're going to then bring your shoulder blades together. You want to lock your wrists. Your wrists should stay in the exact position they're in right now. And you're going to bring your shoulder blades together. And that's why it's called the chicken wing, because when you do it, you look a bit like a chicken trying to fly. And it makes you laugh too. Sometimes you can try and take off too much wood at a time. Just take a light cut. Good Lord. You're hogging off an entire forest worth of wood there at a time. Struggling. Now this position does two different things. It gets the workpiece right underneath your eyes so you can see exactly what you're doing, and it engages different but very powerful muscles so you can take off a lot of wood at a time. It also keeps everybody around you safe because the knife is never going outside of the area of your body. Wow. That's a lot of wood. There are a few different ways to practice these cuts that I would recommend trying. One is just removing the bark from a piece of wood. So the piece of wood that Oliver has a little bit of bark on it. Just try to take off the bark and nothing else. Another great exercise is to put a point on the end of a stick. So if Oliver flips the workpiece around, he can actually make a nice sharp point on the end of a stick. Now Oliver actually has the workpiece up around his chest, but he's using the fulcrum cut. And that's a completely safe way to use the fulcrum cut. All right, you want to do feather stick?
Sure.
Okay.
Dude.
Oh my gosh, don't die, kitty. Watch out for your cat. Now, when you're trying to make a feather stick, it's best to have a stump to work on, and you want to be upright and behind your stump. You're going to have the end of your workpiece supported on the stump, and you're going to try and make the longest feather you can possibly make without it falling off the stick. Now this is a really tough exercise. You'll definitely lose some feathers while you're doing this. Lots of them might fall off. That's okay. Just keep practicing until you can start to really get control over the thickness of the shaving that you're taking. If the shaving is too thick, it's going to be too hard to push. If it's too light, it's going to fall off of the piece that you're working on. And so somewhere in between there is just the right thickness of shaving to make a good feather. So you can see these light feathers that Oliver has been making. He's made quite a few of them. Once you make quite a few of them, after they dry out, they're great fire starters, so don't throw them away. All right, thanks Oliver for your help. I'll finish up the video after you disappear. Okay, thanks to Oliver for helping me demonstrate the basic postures and grips that you can use to safely carve with your carving knife. And now I want to show you one last thing that comes up all the time, and that is how to hand a knife, and this is any knife, safely to someone else. And the safest way to hand somebody a knife is in its sheath. But that's not always the most convenient way. There is another safe way, if the knife isn't in its sheath, to hand somebody a knife. And the way to do that, if you have the knife in the basic forehand grip, all you're going to do is actually fold the knife back in your hand. And it's almost like you're writing a little message with the end of the knife here, like it's a pencil. And with that grip, now I have the blade pointing up in the air, not turned over like this. I have it pointing up in the air, and I can now hand the handle to someone else, and I keep them safe because I have control of the knife until they have it in their hand, and I'm safe because the knife blade is facing up in the air. So again, in your forehand grip, all you're doing is letting the knife fold back like this, and then you can safely hand it to someone else. And they should hand it back to you in the exact same manner. Some final things to consider about knife safety. One is that you should always be thinking about what will happen when you're cutting with a knife if the knife slips or if it exits the cut unexpectedly. Sometimes when we're making a cut, the piece that we're cutting breaks or it's weaker than we thought it was, and now the knife has slipped. If somebody is in the path of your knife when that slip happens, they can get injured. If you have one of your body parts in front of the cut when that happens, you could get injured. Don't forget that these are part of your body too. So if you're cutting away from your body, that includes your fingers. Your fingers should always be holding the workpiece behind the cut, not in front of the cut. The second thing is that if you start to get tired, if your forearm is getting tired or your hand's starting to wear out, it's time to put the knife down for a little while and take a break. You should never be cutting when you're tired or physically worn out. The last thing is to slow down. There's no reason to hurry while you're carving. Many carving projects can take a long time to complete, and if you're working to some sort of self-imposed deadline, you can start to feel like you're in a hurry. More often than not, when I'm in a hurry is when I get injured. So slow down. There's no reason to rush these projects, and if you do, that's probably when you're going to get cut. All right, that's it for this episode. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button or climb up in a tree, jump off, land on the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one.